joining us for another episode of Heart of the Dragon. I'm here with Oscar Rocky today, and he got kind of sick today and had to go to the vet, and so we got to put him on some medicine and stuff because he ate something he shouldn't have yesterday. Poor buddy, my poor baby. Oscar Rocky's really excited because his Annika's coming home tonight from college for a little visit since it's Labor Day weekend. And so he'll be so excited to see her, especially since he hasn't been feeling good. Thank you for watching our show today. If you like our show, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to us. You can also hit the bell below for notifications. We also have a Joyful Mama blog that we share stuff a couple times a month, just some stories and inspirational things. And we'd love it if you subscribe to our blog as well, and you can get the link below. So, Annika hasn't been in the last couple of videos much. She just left for college, and we have some fun stuff planned. We want to do we're putting together a video about her move to college. We have some educational videos that we're trying to put together, and we're just wanting to do some fun things. Like I recently did a cooking video, and we'll do some more things like that. But she is trying to get used to being back in college, and it's a little bit harder for her to be as available, and even though we do want to do some videos together, it'll just kind of depend on what she has going on with school. So that's kind of where we are with that. This is all new for us, so we definitely are amateurs at this, and we're working hard to just learn to relax and be more animated, have fun, but also be vulnerable and serious and candid. So, you know, if there's certain subjects that you are interested in learning about, you know, when we talk about our family journey, or if there's suggestions that you have that you'd like to see in the videos, we always would be open to feedback from our viewers as well. All right, so for today, I just wanted to just have a little bit of discussion and talk about some things that have been on my heart and on my mind lately, because it's been kind of a rough couple of weeks. It's just been kind of heavy around here. A lot of things have happened to people that I care about. First of all, my dad called me a couple weeks ago and told me that Mom came down with pneumonia and was in the hospital, and that was pretty upsetting because they live in Kansas and they live a long ways away, and I felt pretty helpless. But I knew Mom was in good hands, and my dad, he really cares about her. He's doing a great job taking care of her. I'm so thankful for him. And my sister Tracy, she came by. She came over when they got home from the hospital and made sure they were all situated, and we just have a lot of friends and family, like our friend Linda has stopped by and helped out. Clara, Mom's brothers are staying in good touch with her and their children, and so I know she's in good hands. And when I talk to Mom on the phone, she's so darn upbeat, and it just really warms my heart to hear her voice and just know that not only is she being well taken care of, but she's a fighter, and she's positive and optimistic. And it was interesting because she had to go home on oxygen, and because of the pneumonia. And she said that there was another woman there that at the hospital that was going on oxygen, and she just really, her heart went out to her, and she wanted to encourage her. And that's the kind of person my mom is that she's always looking out for other people. She's a very humble person. She doesn't like to put a lot of focus on herself, and she's always looking out for the kids and I and the people around her. And so I'm so thankful for the people that are loving my mom up right now, and I'm so thankful for her, just her spirit and her attitude. So anyway, I love my mom dearly, and I'm just thankful that she's, given the circumstances, is doing as well as she is. I also had to say goodbye to my daughter, and that was, you know, that was her second year off to college, and I know how rough the first year was because of her Lyme flare-up and just some things going on. And it's a struggle when you're on the autism spectrum as well. But she honestly was a girl that has high-functioning autism. She just embraces it, and she does a great job. So I'm proud of her. And I also had to say goodbye to my middle man this week when he left for his first day of 8th grade. And that might seem strange. Like, why would you be upset or having emotions about, you know, child going into middle school? Well, the situation was last year he missed a lot of school because he was so sick after a Lyme flare-up. And we had a lot of turmoil, but we spent the summer resting and healing, and it was a little bit rough when we were in Branson, but he's doing great. And got a long ways to go, and we have a lot of doctor's appointments and tests coming up, but he was ready to go to school, and when he walked out the door, I sat there and I cried because I was just so happy. They were tears of joy. And it was emotional for me as a mom, but I'm just glad that he's doing well, and I'm just going to continue to fight for his health and do whatever I can as a parent. So it made me think about, with my mom and my kids, having to let go, and not always, as a woman, I want to be in charge and in control of things. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you can't. And you have to realize something my husband told me is your children, your parents, the people that you love, they all belong to the Lord. And Darcy, you have to let them go. You have to give up your worldly claims to them and just pray for them and give them up to the Lord. And that's a really, really hard thing to do. It's just hard when you love your family and you love the people around you, and you feel helpless because you can't always control what's going on in people's lives. So those are some of the things personally I've gone through this week. I've also seen a lot of people around me hurting lately, and I don't know if it's just this time of year or what it is, but there's just been a lot of changes I see happening, whether it's relationships or people struggling with health. And I wanted to bring up a couple of stories that happened this week. Two very beautiful, precious people lost their lives this week. One of them was our neighbor and a friend of ours. I hadn't seen her in several years because she moved away. She has had a 12-year battle of cancer. Her name is Lisa Goulette, but she is a Lisa, something to know about her. She's of Indian descent. She's just gorgeous. Black hair, when she was alive. Something about her smile, something about her. She was unassuming, humble, but you just felt this peace around her. And I couldn't explain what it was, but she's just like one of those people that you think, gosh, there's something really special about them. And that's how I felt about Lisa. And I was drawn to her. So she has 3 kids, and she could just tell how much she loved her kids. And so I remember one day I was sitting at Target waiting for Annika, shopping because I wasn't able to shop myself because of my health. And I saw Lisa walking into the store with her oldest son, Richie. And what was really special about that, Richie at the time, this was quite a few years ago, so he would have been probably middle school age, and he had his arm around his mama. And there was something so precious about the way he tenderly had his arm around her. And it was almost like he was trying to protect her against the world. And I just looked at them and I thought, gosh, how many times do you see a child who is embarrassed to be seen around the parents? And here's this, precious young boy, about my middle man's age now, who's just so protective of his mama and just his arm around her. And I thought, she must just be just a wonderful mother, because it's a rare thing you see these days. They put in our church directory, Lisa used to go to our church. They ended up switching churches because they wanted to go where the kids went to school, because they made a lot of connections at the school. They go to Trinity Lutheran School. But I remember when she and her husband Ryan were attending their church, they put her testimony in the directory. And when I read it, I was just really in awe and amazed by her story. So Lisa, as I mentioned, is from Indian descent, and her family came from India. Her parents and her sister go to our church, and something I never realized is they can trace back their family heritage all the way back to when Thomas, who was one of the disciples, brought the gospel to India, and he actually brought the gospel to our ancestors. And I thought, wow, what an amazing story. So that's kind of a cool thing that I learned about her. I knew that she was battling cancer. She had a rare form of cancer that is not treatable, and it was in her face, I believe, and in her neck. And so I had, talked to her some over the years, and I was always amazed at her attitude, because I knew that she had cancer. I knew that they were struggling with treating it, but she never wanted to put any focus on her cancer. And when you'd asked her about it, she always kind of had a positive, upbeat attitude about it. And she would just say, that she trusts that God's going to heal her, that she's doing everything that she can, that she just needs to be positive. And, she always focused on her kids and things like that. So it just, her attitude always amazed me. And I never realized how bad or serious it was until later on. I know that the cancer eventually did kind of disfigure her face as it spread. And I kind of stay in touch with her and her family on Facebook, and they would have posts, and they talked about her being, a superhero and a warrior and stuff. And she was, received awards through her church and stuff. So she was just really well thought of. But I had no idea, that she was at the end stage because of, like I said, how humble and unassuming she was about her cancer, and didn't want to put a lot of attention to it. So when I found out she died, the day after her birthday, I just cried. I mean, just cried really hard to the point that I kind of scared my husband and my daughter. They came running in. They're like, Mom, what's the matter? Or, honey, what's wrong? And I told them that Lisa had died. And I just felt so emotional. But something really weird happened. I was crying, and I was just like, oh, why did this happen? This beautiful, precious child of God, this mother with these 3 beautiful kids. Why, God? And all of a sudden, I just saw this image of Lisa in heaven, and the Holy Spirit just touched me and said, this is my child. She's happy. She's in glory. And I just saw this image of Lisa feeling joyful, and this weird kind of peace washed over me. Like, I just felt at peace knowing this beautiful servant of God, as much as my heart ached for Ryan and for those 3 kids, this beautiful servant of God was free, and she was home. And I don't know, it was just a kind of a weird emotion to go through. So my husband and I went to her funeral on Friday, which was yesterday, and it was just the most beautiful funeral that I had ever been to. It was just so amazing. I couldn't believe just the outpour of love and the stories, and her family and her best friend put together most of the service, and it was just so full of hope and full of the gospel. And I was like, wow, what an amazing legacy this woman left behind. And it just really warmed my heart to be there. And I just felt really joyful. I felt sad and joyful at the same time, because I thought, this is a precious child of God. And how I know that the service would have pleased Lisa, because it gave God glory, and it really showed that that God is good all the time, even in pain, even in cancer, and even in suffering. And when I heard her story, and I heard that she 12 years ago was given months to live, that she has been living with stage 4 end-stage cancer for 12 long years, and she fought for her children. And sometime in that journey, she got pregnant, and the doctors told her she shouldn't have the baby. And I wouldn't be surprised, they didn't say, but I wouldn't be surprised if the doctor would have even encouraged her to have an abortion. But she didn't do it. She fought for her child, and she fought for her family. And that beautiful little girl that she had, that beautiful little girl was born like a miracle. Like, they couldn't believe how, healthy and vibrant this little girl was, and how well Lisa did. Like, it didn't affect her cancer at all. And the doctor's like, this is impossible. This is amazing. So those stories are just miracles that the Lord gives us, and gives us hope. And the fact that she continued on for years, thriving, despite being told that she had months to live, despite having this awful, untreatable cancer, she did everything she could for her family. So I just thought that was an amazing legacy, an amazing story. This morning I found out that one of my dear friends and mentors, her son-in-law, also passed away from cancer this morning. And it was so sad. Ryan passed away. I didn't know Ryan. I know his wife a little bit. But his mother-in-law has been someone that's been precious in my life for many years. And when I heard the story on Caring Bridge, it was sad and really touched my heart. He died peacefully this morning with his wife and his little boy in his arms, that they just curled up with him. And his little girl woke up, and she said, "Is Daddy happy now?" And Mama said yes. And what a heartwarming and sad story. But at the same time, I told Mel, my husband, about it, and he said, "But Darcy, we should, it is sad and it is hard, but think about the fact that he's in heaven now with Jesus, and he's not suffering anymore." So it's kind of a double-edged sword, when someone passes away like that. It's like, you don't understand why, when they're so young, why they have to suffer, why they have to leave their family behind. but you also, when you have faith, you have hope. Gosh, several years ago, one of my dear friends and mentors, Kelly Peterson, died of cancer too. And something that I saw in her that I see in these two people, Lisa and Ryan, the same kind of thing I think of is that there was this just supernatural hope. And when they were dying or when they're suffering, that they carried a grace and a dignity and a hope that I just can't understand, that the people around me, that if they've never been through cancer or something as tragic as that, you just don't understand. And a common thing that I've seen in all three of these people is that in their last days, one, that they're very selfless people, that they did not put any focus on themselves, that their hearts were for the Lord and for using their pain to reach as many people for the Lord as possible. And that's something that's just really hard to understand if you're not there in their situation, but yet such a beautiful, amazing thing. I remember when Kelly, right before she died, she had called me and she just couldn't wait to tell me a story. She was just so excited that she was in California doing cancer treatments with her sister, and her sister saw Jesus holding her. And they believe that this was to help her sister, Lori, be able to say goodbye and to know that she was in Jesus' hands. But she actually saw Jesus holding her at church and saw it very clearly. And Kelly just could not wait to tell me about it. She was just so excited. And even though she was dying and in pain and hurting, her first thought was of me, because she knew that I was suffering a lot at that time with Lyme disease. And she told me, Darcy, don't you ever forget, when you're hurting and when you're battling and when you're thinking that you're giving up hope, remember that Jesus is holding you. Jesus has you. And there's just, those stories are just really heart-wrenching and comforting at the same time. And so the Bible verse, this is a Bible verse that came to mind when I went to say goodbye to Kelly when she was dying. I actually came and I prayed with her family and prayed with her. Mel and I went. This verse just came to mind, and I wrote a letter to Ryan and his wife with the same verse when they found out that his cancer was probably going to be end stage, because it just really speaks to my heart. And I think that when I think of Lisa, Ryan, and Kelly, this is what I think of when I think of this verse. So this is from 2 Corinthians 4:16. It's 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18. And this Bible verse says, "So we do not lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away, our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light and momentary affliction is preparing us for a future weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal." And when I prayed with Kelly and her family, that's the verse that I spoke up, like I said. And that verse is just, I think, really personifies these three beautiful, wonderful people that were taken away from us too soon. But what did God do in them? God did an amazing work in them. That even though their body was wasting away, their spirit was being renewed. And that's what their families testified. That as you saw them hurting and their pain, like they said with Lisa, you know, her pain was a 15, where 10 would be the worst pain you can have in your life. And I remember Kelly's daughter, Corey, talking to about Kelly being in so much pain, she was literally screaming at times. Just unthinkable, horrible pain. But at the same time, God was renewing them inwardly. He was making them into a beautiful creation. So I just think that when we look at our lives and look at the pain and suffering we go through, it doesn't make sense. We don't understand it, but God is working in all that, and it's just an amazing testimony. And I guess, you know, after Lisa's funeral, Mel and I, my husband, were talking about, like, you know, we only have so much time on earth, and how do we want to be remembered? And I guess, you know, you can't spend your life, I mean, I can't say that, you know, like at Lisa's funeral, you could see how many lives she touched just by her gentle spirit. I don't know if I'll have that kind of impact. I have no idea. You know, I'm kind of an introvert, but we can't compare our lives with each other. You know what I mean? It's just, we have to just do our best in the life that the Lord gives us. We're all sinners. We all screw up. We all do boneheaded things sometimes that we're like, what the heck am I thinking? But we can't compare our lives. We just got to be humble and live our life the best we can. And that's all we could do, you know? So I don't know what kind of legacy I'll leave, but I hope that at least people know that I try to live a humble life. And I think that at the very least, you know, my kids will see that when it came to my faith, that it wasn't just some kind of act or that I was trying to impress people. It's a real hard struggle. And this thing called the Bible, it's something that you wrestle through. And they know, they see me with this and reading it and trying to make sense of the world around me through this book. And hopefully they'll see that it was never just something for me to get attention for myself or glorify myself, because it's not me that gives the glory, it's God. And I think that that's what's with Lisa and Ryan and Kelly, that's what you can really see in them, is that they trusted the Lord, and that it wasn't about them. It was about God doing a work through them. Extraordinary things happen only to extraordinary people, and there's some pretty extraordinary people that are in heaven right now.
Thank you very much for joining us today. If you liked what you saw today, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and then please be sure to hit the subscribe button below, and then be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can receive notifications on all of our future videos. We are on social media, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under the username Joyful Mama. Otherwise, we will also link that in the description below. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Bye, guys.